Hello and welcome to Beyond Business, the program where we uncover the latest trends in the global economy. Today we're taking a closer look at a battle that's playing out on a cinema screen near you. It's not an epic war drama and there's neither a superhero nor a villain, but it is a battle for hearts and minds and ultimately money. We're looking at the soft power of cinema and we're honing in on what culture and film can do to spread a country's values and boost its economic interests. We'll start with a report from the Cannes Film Festival, which recently wrapped up here in France, and then we'll be back here in the studio with more.
Let's talk about
in film, the key is to tell a good story. And with Hitler in Hollywood, the Belgian director Frédéric Saucher is balancing on the edge between the real and the imaginary. The film is a parody of America's dominance of world cinema.
The original idea came from a quote from President Roosevelt, who said, "Send American films abroad and our products will follow."
That is to say, cinema sold the American dream to consumers only too keen to buy into it. For the Belgian director, it looks a bit like a plot.
Tu connais l'histoire de Coutard, du chef-op de Godard, quand même, qui est un agent de la CIA, qui l'a avoué 10 ans après.
Alors, dis-moi tout, raconte-moi ça.
Je sais que le cinéma français, le cinéma européen à l'époque, était en train de prendre le pas sur Hollywood quand même. Il y avait des coproductions qui étaient incroyables. Et ça, c'est des films qui marchaient bien sur toute l'Europe.
Oui. Sur toute l'Europe.
Oui, c'était des grosses coproductions européennes et ça nuisait énormément à Hollywood, ça.
Behind the films, there's a lot else at stake, not just economically, but also politically and culturally. It's all three at once. So cinema is really more than cinema. There's a war going on, and we know nothing about it.
Of course, American films are winning this war. Even in France, they did better box office than homegrown productions in 3 out of the last 4 years. But France still has the strongest film industry in Europe, according to the director of the National Centre for Cinematography.
We're not really worried as long as we're over 35%. 35% is still a big share of the market compared to other European countries. In Germany and in Spain, homegrown films make up between 10 and 20% of the market. In Britain and Italy, it's between 20 and 30%. Here, it's always between 35 and 45%. This year, 43%. So French cinema is still in good health.
He says it's French cinema's diversity that helps it hold its own against Hollywood blockbusters.
We have every kind of film, and I think that that's a strength. That originality, that diversity, that keeps our cinema going. I think the blockbuster model is more fragile, because once you've dealt with all the superheroes, there's nothing left to do.
Nevertheless, America monopolises 80% of the market for films sold abroad. France has just 2%. Antoine Clermont-Tonnerre is in charge of Uni France, the body whose job it is to sell French films abroad. He offers 250 films to foreign buyers every year, a European record. But Tonnerre is worried the network that distributes French films abroad may be about to dry up.
We think that in a number of countries where we haven't really taken the necessary precautions, a lot of independent cinemas in town centres are closing. And those are the cinemas that show our films. So it's important to bring that to the attention of governments. Without these screens, there won't be any diversity in cinema.
Distribution isn't the only problem. Scott Roxburgh from The Hollywood Reporter thinks it's in the marketing where France lets itself down.
The marketing aspect, Hollywood's incredibly good at selling itself. It's incredibly good at making stars, at putting them out there and putting big red carpet events and getting everyone excited about the new film from Halle Berry or Tom Hanks or whoever it is. France isn't bad at that, but it could get better.
French filmmakers need to up their game then, but hopefully without losing the qualities that make French cinema unique.
Okay, let's get more on this now. Joining me here in the studio is Violaine. She's got a PhD in European law and she's a consultant on public policies and she specialises in industrial policy making. Welcome to France 24.
Thank you very much.
Let's start by exploring cinema's soft power. How much influence do films have in the first place?
Well, first of all, we have no vision of soft power. We do think that soft power represents the ability for a country to impose their values, their way of living. But to me, we should have another vision of soft power, because according to me, soft power is rather the ability to encourage people to empathize with people whose experience they have never shared. Mm-hmm. I just want to take an example. In the US, you have a classical soft power, for example, with the film Top Gun, with Tom Cruise. The film was based on a very close relationship with the army. Well, basically, you have different levels of cooperation with the army, courtesy cooperation, full cooperation. But in the 80s, there was mainly full cooperation. And at the end of the screening, the army was there to meet spectators and to enroll in the army. Okay. So that's a kind of propaganda. According to me, we definitely have to make the difference between soft power, which is the ability, as I said, to encourage people to understand the way we live in the global society. And this is not... as we can imagine, the way that we can implement a defense issue or foreign affairs. Mm-hmm.
But if we look at it in hard money terms, it's also to do with a country's image abroad, right, such as the United States and its image outside of its borders.
Yes, this is extremely true. I can take a French example. For example, the movie La Môme with Marion Cotillard was largely exported. Marion Cotillard had an Oscar, and it was extremely positive for France, not only for the movie industry, but also for tourism, and as well as the
It attracted people to Paris and to other parts of France.
It attracted people to Paris. At the same time, it promotes Dior and other brands like in luxury sector. I can take another example, very famous. This is the film Le Fabuleux Destin d'Amélie Poulain, which is often called Amélie in the international scene. Attracted a lot of Japanese, a lot of Chinese, and else in Paris, in Montmartre, in particular in one coffee. So this is soft power, definitely. This is the ability to promote trade, values, and collective preferences as well.
Now, as we just heard in the report, American films dominate the international market. Why do you think that is?
Of course, this is true. The Americans are dominating the market by far. But we are nowadays have to face emerging countries, which should rather be called submerging countries, in particular India with Bollywood. But we have to criticize this vision, because Bollywood is mainly focused on masala, which is the traditional films in India, and she promotes discrete protectionism. She's very close to our own markets. Indian people doesn't look so much film from foreign countries. They prefer have a look at Bollywood and masala films.
But if we look at Hollywood, is marketing where what Hollywood does best, so to speak?
What Hollywood does best, they have a big industry that we do not have in Europe, because, for instance, in the US you have some kind of 8 majors, and in the EU we have a very fragmented market with around 400 to 500 different kind of companies, which are very often very small, with freelance actors, freelance people working on it. So we definitely need to remove and to find a new strategy to foster the economy and more globally the industry, the creative industry. The second point to face such a warlike competition is to change the European strategy.
But how should policymakers change the strategy then? Do they need to put more money into European filmmaking, or can they help through other means?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. That has been a question for years in Europe. Over the past 3 decades, Europe was extremely fragmented among Latin countries, such like France, Italy, and Portugal, for instance, and EU Nordic countries and the UK. The South countries were willing to promote subsidies, quotas, to develop their industries. Nowadays, we are living a big reforms on industrial issues. And we are trying to develop a new kind of business model based on the so-called experience economy, which is particularly Anglo-Saxon, I think. How to explain it concretely? Over the past 10 years, in the so-called Lisbon strategy, which was designed in Lisbon, the whole point was to develop the most competitive industry. But we can criticize and bemoan such a strategy because it was extremely procedural, extremely bureaucratic, and we were...
So too much talk, basically, not enough action.
Too much talk, and we didn't have a holistic approach. We were used to working in silos, in research, in industry, but we didn't have a global approach. But what is really important in creative industries is to have a global approach and to encourage risk-taking, entrepreneurial skills, education and research, and to promote innovation. And that's my position, but I think you can't promote innovation with subsidies, with money, because innovation comes from people who want to change and who want to create, not who want to receive money with too much bureaucracy.
All right, a very interesting debate. Violaine Akel, thanks very much indeed for coming in to us and for speaking to us today.
You're welcome.
And with that, we're going to wrap up the program. Thanks for watching.